everybody, what's up? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to comment on something that somebody asked me about recently, and I thought it would be worth a discussion. I saw that my brother Ta-Nehisi Coates won a MacArthur grant, which I guess they call them genius grants, where when they label you a genius, you get I think about $625,000 for over 5 years to do whatever you want. And I think it's great for the world. I think it's great for humanity. I like the fact that they have this award. I like the fact that they gave it to him. I think it's a wonderful thing. I'm very happy for him. Now, one of the things I wanted to jump into very quickly, though, so that I felt the need to talk about it so people wouldn't think I was trying to throw shade at Ta-Nehisi. I'm not doing that at all. I've seen his videos. I've read his articles. I think they're very good. I love the fact that he's taking this reparations conversation, the mass incarceration conversation, to the masses, to white folks mostly, mainly liberal white folks, people that will read the Atlantic and stuff like that. I think it's good. I think he's a person, in my opinion, who is using his power for the greater good, for the good of black people. I really do think that there is value in what he's doing, tremendous value. But here's the thing that really kind of got to me a little bit. I saw a lot of black people really celebrating his genius grant, and almost like some sort of special African American achievement, and all this stuff, and that, when I see that, that kind of affects me a little bit. I have to take a moment of pause, because one of the things that I notice is that we as black people, in many cases, we need validation from whites in order for us to feel like we've accomplished something. If we're not accepted by them, then we feel, maybe if we're marginalized, we feel like we're not quite as good, we're a little inadequate, or maybe we're a little envious of those who did get that white acceptance. I don't know, but it really bothers me, because here's the thing: they're not lining up to get acceptance from us. We're working and lining up to try to get into Harvard University, but they're not working to get into any university that we have. It's a collective. You don't hear white people say, well, so-and-so was the first white guy to ever get into FAMU, right? Even though FAMU is a great business school, they don't consider it to be as good as their best business schools, because their schools are white, our schools are black. And then, of course, they have more money, which does play a part. But remember, they took that money by basically stealing it from us for hundreds of years, as Ta-Nehisi would write in some of his articles, which, again, he does a very good job of laying the reparations conversation on the table. So two quick things that come to mind. One, and I'll come back to that other issue in a second, but one is, I'm glad he's talking about the issue. I'm glad he's laying it out there. But my question is, okay, if you really believe what he's saying, if you're white and you support him, then why in the world, why are you not doing anything? Why do you fight harder for animals' rights than you fight for the rights of black people to get the reparations that we rightfully deserve? We can argue over whether or not a fish or a cricket if a cricket's life or a dog's life is as valuable as a human being, but we cannot argue. There is no debate over whether or not the United States spent hundreds of years enslaving black people and lynching us and burning us and castrating us, destroying our families, and doing horrible things to us. In addition to taking all of our money, then they took all of our money after they ruined us spiritually, physically, and otherwise. So these white folks that are cheering and calling him a genius, well, put some political action behind what you're doing. Put as much energy into that as you're putting into gay rights and all these other things that matter to you. But then again, at the same time, of course, black folks, we've got to push the issue as well. And I try to do that, but unfortunately, we got a lot of black people who fell asleep under the African American president that we had, and they kind of didn't get anything. Our community actually moved backwards under President Obama's reign, according to most indicators. And I think that evidence is pretty clear. I don't think black people gained hardly anything from having a black president, other than the excitement of having a president, a biracial president. Now, so going deeper, another thought that I have on Ta-Nehisi is this, and this is something that's very dangerous for black people. This is why you have to be real careful when you analyze stuff like this. When you celebrate a black first, or a black person who got something that was unique, and he was given that thing from whites. Understand this: if Ta-Nehisi had not gained favor with whites and gotten that job at the Atlantic, he wouldn't have got this genius grant. He'd just be another nigger writing articles on the internet, or whatever he's doing, whatever he wanted to do. And I say it that way. I use the N-word deliberately, because for many scores of black people. There's so many black people I can name that I know of who are doing an amazing job talking about the reparations conversation, who were doing it long before Ta-Nehisi came along, before I came along, etc. I mean, these are people that to whom we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude, but these individuals don't get that recognition. Now, it makes sense though, because sometimes their messages were too radical for whites to get comfortable with, right? They maybe were marginalized because of that. So you wouldn't expect white people to kind of award someone that they don't quite understand. But at the same time, it's so you don't fault them for giving the award to black people that they're comfortable with. That's natural. What you can fault, however, is the black people who will celebrate a black man who gets a job for getting a job at the Atlantic, but will not celebrate the black man who gets the job writing at what's that website that I love? It's a great Black Agenda Report. I can tell you what, the brothers that write at the Black Agenda Report are every bit as good as the folks who write at the Atlantic. In fact, they're better than the black people that write at the Atlantic. It's pretty much mostly Ta-Nehisi. A lot of these liberal outlets, they kind of pick like one black person who's like their favorite. So Ta-Nehisi's like their favorite black person, and then Huffington Post, you got Mark Lamont Hill. He's their favorite black person. Like, go back and look at HuffPo for the last 3 years, and you'll see almost every single interview with a black person was done by Mark, which I didn't like that because I think Mark is so smart he shouldn't have been pigeonholed. I think he should have been interviewing everybody. But for some reason, it was like almost like this awkwardness where it's like, we're down with black people and we really like you. We don't want everybody. We don't want the masses of black people. We'll take a couple of Negroes up in here, and we want you to interview all the black people because you speak that language. You can connect to those people, and we can't because somehow we're a little more human than they are, or they're just different from us, and we just don't know how to connect. Which really, to some extent, some might argue, is a form of subtle white supremacy, just where white folks just kind of look at us. Well, we're expected to be comfortable with them. We can go talk to them. I can talk to any white person anywhere almost all the time, but they can't quite do the same thing with us. They kind of take us and kind of put us in our place, in a spot, right? So when you see some of these major, whether it's media outlets or corporations, they'll kind of say, okay, well, you're black. Oh, well, you know what? They won't say this, right? But you'll come in, you're black, you apply for the job, and they say, well, we have the diversity office over here, and you can work in the diversity office. So in their minds, that's their contribution to the black community, like, right? We created this diversity office, and black people can do whatever they want over there, but they can't really come into the mainstream because the first thing we notice about them, and this is one subtle interesting thing about racism, the first thing they notice about you is the color of your skin, right? And so it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that systematic racism and the subtleties of discrimination are just so deeply embedded in who we are that it's hard for people to fight it, even if they're well intended. I really believe that there are a lot of white liberals who truly want to do the right thing, but I think that they've been so deeply indoctrinated in white supremacy that that we're being disrespected even when they're doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Just that patronizing white person, almost going back to the religious people who would go civilize the savages, right, and give them Bibles and food and say we'll feed you if you'll pray to our white Jesus, that kind of thing. And so in my mind, and this is where I might end up differing from those who kind of favor whether it's assimilation, integration, all that, is not because I want to run away from good white folks. I don't have any problem with what they're doing. Like, I think that the Atlantic, I'm so happy they published those articles about reparations. I'm so happy they gave the award to Ta-Nehisi. I'm glad for them. I really am. But at the same time, I want to be glad for us. I want to be glad for us. I want us to be the ones who are making the decisions about who in our community deserves to be respected the most. If you ask me, for example, who would I put? Who do I think is a more impactful, more meaningful, more relevant figure in the new millennium? Between you measure up between Ta-Nehisi Coates and Dr. Umar Johnson, a person who has been highly rejected by the liberal establishment. It's not a contest to me. It's just not a contest. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything Umar says. It doesn't mean that Umar is perfect. I've critiqued Umar on many occasions. I'm not afraid to, but there's no comparison. But you really won't see Umar get that acceptance, and it's okay. It's okay. I'm not saying that they should accept him. What I'm saying is that you, as a black person, should make your own decision without that decision being muddled by this white supremacist notion that somehow being accepted by white people makes you automatic a de facto superior entity over somebody who's not. You see, some of the greatest black people in the world did not get respect from black people because they were rejected by white people. There are black folks who love Barack Obama because white people love him, but if he'd been rejected by white people, if he were a radical black man, they wouldn't give him any respect. They will love Barack Obama but disrespect Jeremiah Wright, who has worked 10 times harder on behalf of black issues and been 10 times more ferocious for 10 times longer than Barack Obama has. Now, it doesn't mean that Barack doesn't deserve respect for his accomplishments, but we've got to learn how to respect our own and respect ourselves and not wait for our oppressor to pat us on the head and say, "Good boy, you're a genius. You're a smart boy. I'm so proud of you." Because here's the thing. You see, when you're an oppressed group of people, you are at war. I mean, you really are at war. For the war for your soul, the war to protect your family, the war to protect your legacy, the war to protect just all the shit that's yours. You're at war. And when you're at war and fighting against this oppression, fighting against white supremacy, police brutality, mass incarceration, all the other issues that we're facing, you can't sit around and let somebody play with your self-esteem. You can't let those who are connected, those who support those systems that you're fighting, decide if you're going to walk away feeling like you're worthy or unworthy, or if you're going to look at your brother and feel that he's worthy or unworthy. You must make those decisions independently. You need some sort of sovereignty in your thinking. For example, Louis Farrakhan is never going to be accepted by the liberal establishment, especially because he's been at odds with the Jewish community. He tries not to be. Every time I talk to him, he says something favorable about the Jews, but things that he said in the past have stuck around into his 80s, and he's got to deal with that. That's fine, but don't let his lack of acceptance somehow make you think he's not worthy of your respect. Now, the thing is, most people, I think, are there. Most people kind of get this, but in particular, I was thinking about just this Ta-Nehisi thing and the Genius Grant and the black people that really celebrated this, almost like somehow by getting acceptance from whites, you've accomplished something. That's not getting accepted by whites is not an achievement. It's like applauding your daughter because all the boys like her at school. No. When you hear that all the boys at school like your daughter, your next question should be, why do they like you so much? It doesn't mean she's doing something that she shouldn't be doing. It just means you need to ask that question. And so with Ta-Nehisi though, I don't have any problem with this brother. I really don't. I don't know how people would interpret me even talking about what he received in his award. I'm really happy for him. I think he should keep doing his work. I think his work is really well done. I think that we should take it and apply it into direct political action. I think that all these whites that say they love him need to go ahead and really back this up, put millions of dollars behind legislation that will support reparations, and have the brothers back. Those are your people. The Atlantic loves you. All these white liberals that want to invite you in for $20,000 speaking engagements, God bless you. But what about the masses? What about the community? How's the community going to benefit from the great work that you've done? That's the next step in the evolution of Ta-Nehisi Coates, in my opinion. That's all I want to say. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, by the way. Today is September 30th. So on October 9th, we are doing a Black Wealth Matters forum at Howard University in the Business School at 6 p.m. on October 9th, 6 p.m. Come on out. It's the day before the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. So since I was going to D.C., I talked to Ryan Mack and we decided, hey, let's just get together and have a forum for Black wealth. So far, hundreds of people have RSVP'd. We're going to stop at about 1,000 because the place only holds 500 or 600 or something like that, so we can't keep letting people RSVP, but usually about half the people show up anyway, so that's kind of why we go a little bit over. I'm probably giving you TMI. Anyway, you guys take care, and I will talk to you soon. Take care now. Bye bye.